Hey guys, episode 73 here. We're going to put some fuel lines in the fuel tank in the Falcon, go get it all plumbed up, change the fluids, and hopefully she runs today. Get some lines bent up. Let's get the tank put in and let's get this thing running. And here's the old fuel lines. Wasn't even going to bother with them with the condition of the tank and the carburetor. It's just, they're just full of rust and ick. So we got some new metal lines. We're going to get these bent up, get them put back under the car. That way everything is new from the start. Okay guys, when you're under the car and you're bending up these hard lines, there's two tools you can use. This one is a little hand-held bender. We'll show you how to use that in a second. This one's a little more fancier, this big contraption. Put your hard line on this side, lays up against the die. You need to press the die for angle. The three most popular sizes. I'm going to show you how to do this with some welding rod, but the same thing would apply if it were hard line, whether it's brake line, fuel lines, anything like that. Okay, put your material in on the top side, bring your device down, and you simply bend until your pointer, which is right here, brings you to the angle that you want. Now if this were the right size material, we take this off and we have our 90. If it was 5/16, it's just welding wire, so the radius is a little wrong. But that's how those work. Real simple, nice tool. Little bit of brain power when you're laying underneath the car and you're upside down, looking at angles, especially when you want to do something like this, and then you have to put it back in the machine. Get a touchdown and say you want a completely different angle. Okay, so that's how you would make a compound angle like that, to where it goes up and then it goes over. It's a little bit of thinking. What's a little bit easier tool to use, and this is specifically for like copper lines and aluminum lines. The bigger tool is better suited for steel lines, because steel lines are a lot harder to bend and a lot easier to kink. This tool is very simple. Put your material in and bend, and it bends it around the radius that you need. A little bit less brain power with this one, but you can still, wherever you need to go. It's very simple to use. I recommend just this little tool like this if you're doing aluminum lines, copper lines, because this one a little more cumbersome, and it's a little weirder to figure out the angles on it when you have to put the piece in. And I recommend this little tool highly. Very easy to use, self-explanatory. Little practice, you can make any hard line you want. Here's a look at the new tank in the car. Filler neck is in, shiny new gas cap. It's all secured down, and the level sensor is plugged in. It plugs in underneath the car in the back of the tank. Okay guys, this is how you would install a new float level sensor, the pickup, on a Ford with the lock ring. Here is what the opening in your tank looks like. You have rubber O-ring, the lock tab, and your float. First thing you want to do, this is the way I do it, take a little bit of grease. Now this O-ring sits in this little groove here, and again, this is a mock-up tank, guys, so it's already been cut up and everything else, so we're okay. Alright, a little bit of grease in there. What that will do, that holds this little O-ring in place while you're setting in your float, when you're putting in your lock ring, because they have a tendency to dance around, just like any other seal or anything like that. This is the best way to hold it in that I've found. Alright, when you're putting in your float, the pickup sits in the tank like this. Okay, this end here usually has a filter sock on it, again, mock-up parts, and that sits at the bottom of the tank. So that you put your float in this way. And this is your float, so the way the float is right now, it would show a full tank, and then all the way sunk to the bottom, your meter should read tank empty. Tank empty, tank full. And then you just insert these. And again, doing this with one hand, like so. Okay, this is how it should look. The sender should be pointed to the top of the tank. Again, this is the top, this is the bottom of the tank. The tank is upside down right now for assembly. And your pickup should also be facing up. Very important. If you put it in upside down, it'll still go in, but you'll never work, you'll never get gas. All right. Then you take your lock ring. These three reliefs coincide with those three reliefs on the lock ring. Flat side down towards the sensor. Put this in, and this should start on its own real nice and easy, right? Okay, then you take a little hammer, brass hammer, whatever you want to use. There's these little tabs, and you want this piece here to rotate all the way in here, and that's what this little flat area here needs to rotate down to be locked here onto the tank. You take your little hammer, or brass hammer, whatever you have. So right there. And that will lock your tank in place. It locks the sensor in place, locks the O-ring in place. Should be leak free. Okay, so with our Falcon, we have our tank in, the neck's in, all the lines are done, all new hose clamps, new fuel filters, carburetors rebuilt. We drained the oil, put in new oil, topped off the coolant. We're going to pump in some fresh gas into the new tank and fire it up. Okay, new oil filter, all new fuel lines, new fuel filter, rebuilt carburetor. Let's crank her over and see what we got. And this is where we're going to end our video today, guys. We have our lines put in, everything's hooked up, everything worked great, the new carburetor's on, but our 56-year-old fuel pump just wasn't up to the task. It took a dump. We have a new one ordered, should be here in a day or so. Once we get the new fuel pump on, promise this time we'll get this started. Like I said, this engine does run with starting fluid, but it's not pumping any gas at all. And there's no restriction from the pump to the tank. You can blow low pressure air through there, no problem. Alright guys, we'll see you next time.